All right, so this is my talk. I'm a consultant for Zimmer, as my disclosure. Now, revision surgery is a whole different animal, as those of us who do revisions know, and it really requires, if you think about it, as peak performance, which comes out as a nice little acronym. But so preparation, and that means, to me, if you're thinking too much in surgery, it's because you haven't prepared enough. I don't think that the time to think is when you have a gun to your head, and so you really want a template. Know what surgical instruments you're going to need for this unique case, and make sure you have all your implants available. Okay. You're going to, exposure is important, so you know how to get in and out safely, right? If you can see what you're doing, then you can do it. If you can't see it, you're going to mess something up. It's important to have awareness, both of what's happening, but also of yourself. Know your limitations, and then also know when your plan A isn't working and when it's time to go to plan B, right? If you've been hitting it from the top for 20 minutes and still no progress, maybe it's time for that osteotomy. Someone already alluded to this earlier, but knowing the implants, not only what you're going to put in, but also what you're taking out. Know how it obtains fixation. Know where you can obtain fixation with your new implant. It'll make the operation much smoother. That being said, some common obstacles in revision. Broken screws, I think we see these all the time. These aren't really much of a deal. On the left there, you see a 62-year-old male obese who came to me with a failed revision, and we could argue why it failed. Probably no screw fixation medially, and so it had some cup pull-out. On the intraop fluoros, you can see there that broken screw. For the most part, broken screws, you can just kind of forget them. If they are impeding the surgery or the progression of the surgery or implantation, you can remove them if they're easily accessible with a broken screw removal set. Otherwise, a high-speed burr with a metal cutting burr tip is your friend. As we see here, this patient who had a pelvic ring injury about a year prior to seeing me that was fixed somewhat, and she was having obviously hip pain, had an up and in defect, and you can see intraoperatively how that highlighted screw on the left would be in the way of reaming. So I use a high-speed burr, cut that screw out of the way, and then we're able to ream intraoperatively to recreate the hip. I get paid by the cups that I put in, so I usually try to put in multiple cups in revisions, and here you see these up and in defects. There's a cup in, cup on, cup construct, which helps restore the hip center, and you get some good biologic fixation. The next obstacle constraint liners are very similar to broken screws in that they're really not that big of a deal. A 1/4-inch osteotome again and a mallet would take care of most of them. It is important to know the design. Just because it doesn't have a ring on it doesn't mean it's not constrained. There's some semi-constrained options that, again, 1/4-inch osteotome and a mallet will solve all issues, and you can dislocate atraumatically. Dual mobility. I'm a fan of dual mobility, particularly in the revision setting for instability. That being said, they're a lot friendlier putting them in than taking them out, typically. That is design specific. Some designs have that raised lip with a recessed tab that makes it pretty easy to get an osteotome or a manufacturer-provided tool to disengage that locking mechanism. Others, however, have a great locking mechanism. They're recessed, and you have a hard time getting them out, and that can really get you pretty explosive in the OR, at least me at times. And so why is that? And that's because the tools for removal of the DM liners can be frustrating at times. You can have that unilateral bone tamp where you can kind of just sound the face of it and try to get it loose, or you have the face impactor, all of which sound great, and then someone hands you a suction cup and you're just like, oh man, here we go. So here's a patient that presented with a 72-year-old lady who had a total hip for a fracture, and she had persistent and worsening groin pain, and I'm sure most of us can figure out why. On that cross-table lateral, you see that there's about 1.5 centimeters of overhang, and that psoas is just really unhappy. Thankfully, the X-ray on the right there shows how there's even, it seems, cartilage intact, so there's a lot of room to medialize this cup. So we always think about how to minimize frustrations in the OR. find your moment of zen, get your exposure. However, we've discussed it already. Intraoperatively, you can see that all that overhang anteriorly, right? The psoas is pretty intimate to the anterior wall there, and so any overhang is going to cause that irritation. And so for me, I just feel better when I have a saw in my hands, and I find that this saw technique, this is not sped up, so I actually ran it for longer than you typically need to, but since I was recording, I wanted to make sure it was a one-time thing. And I just turned the saw on and kind of inside the cup and hit the interface on the side. And you'll see the liner actually start rotating. And as it rotates, then, again, the suction cup. But it actually comes out pretty easily. Then once you have taken that dual mobility liner out, which, by the way, we only had to do because there was a screw in place, right? Otherwise, you could just use a 28 head with that appropriate size bearing. But then you use your cup explant. I don't have the automatic one available to me, unfortunately, so I get a workout in while doing this. And you take the cup out. And it's pretty anticlimactic, but there's the cup. And so final post-op x-rays, we have a medialized cup and inverted to ensure coverage. But not every case will allow the explant osteotome to work, right? You don't have that right angle of attack necessarily, or you're working in a constrained space. So here's another, here's another up and in defect in a 77-year-old female who actually came to see me initially for her primary, but thought I was too young to do the primary. So she showed up 9 months later with this x-ray because I was old enough for the revision. So she was having groin pain that eventually got better, unfortunately. And so in surgery, you're not going to be able to get to this with your explant osteotome. So it's important to, again, have preparation and know that you might need to request the old school gouges. And these don't, depending on where you are, these don't just necessarily live in your hospital. So it's important to ask for things that you think you might need. Intraoperatively, after the cup was removed, you can see that we removed that taper slip stem because for exposure purposes, it just makes sense, and it's essentially loose by definition once it's put in, right? So we took out the stem, reamed for the my typical cup in cup on cup construct, but there's the fluoro, which is the great thing about anterior revisions, is you can really use fluoro, manipulate your columnator, ensure that you're having these home run screws in all trajectories. And I always used to, when I first started doing anterior hip revisions, I used to say that I always knew which ones were anterior hip and which ones were posterior hip approach because of the length of my screws in the pubis and the ischium. I felt much more comfortable with longer screws in the ischium and the pubis when I had direct visualization. And so this is her 1 year out. She was doing great. And every once in a while, a patient will come into your office who sort of just hears that you're giving a talk titled Intrapelvic Cup Migration, Broken Screws, DM Liner, and shows up with everything. The problem is that this gentleman's surgery is not scheduled for 2.5 weeks, so I don't have any videos of it, but I do have the plan. Oh, this is actually the old talk. This is the wrong talk. It doesn't have the videos of the intrapelvic exposure, but hopefully we can get it fixed. So here the plan, again, is an extensile exposure, femoral stem removal. Thankfully, it's a taper wedge stem, so it's not a big deal. With possible ASIS osteotomy, if we can't take out the cup through the acetabulum to gain retroperitoneal access. And then we have a triflange via an anterior approach plan for him, followed by reimplantation of a femoral stem. Let's see if we can get these videos. Yeah, okay. If not, the same videos will be presented by different speakers, but it was just an ASIS osteotomy with retroperitoneal access. We have other talks on it as well. But that's it. Thank you.